Welcome to the Caribbean Cricket Podcast, your one-stop shop for all things West Indies cricket. By the fans, for the fans.
Roach, and I listen to the Caribbean Cricket Podcast.
Indeed you are, people. You listen to the Caribbean Cricket Podcast. And let me pause right there, because as I've pressed record, I just realized I don't even have my microphone. So 1 second, people. 1 second. Poor form from me. Very, very poor form. That's how you know I wasn't fully prepared for this one. But people, as I talk plainly into the laptop and not with the microphone, bear with me. Here we go. How does that sound? How does that sound, people? Welcome to the Caribbean Cricket Podcast. My name is Machel St. Patrick here, one half of the Caribbean Cricket Podcast, and welcome back to another episode, another edition of the Caribbean Cricket Podcast. This one is actually a quick one, and I literally mean it's a quick one. In little over, in fact, just under 12 hours from the time of recording. So whenever you lot watch this, it could be 10, 8, 9, 7, 6, 5, whatever, however many hours before West Indies play their second match in the ODI World Cup Qualifiers tournament against Nepal. I denied, but I said, you know what? It's only right that I kind of look at team selection for this second ODI. And this is why I think it's going to be a quick one, because I don't envisage that there's many major changes to really talk about when it comes to the Nepal match. But by all means, of course, for those of you listening, get at us in the comments below. Let us know what you think. At us at Carib Cricket on Twitter or Instagram. And most importantly of all, like, share, and subscribe to the Caribbean Cricket Podcast. We're still on that road to 5K. And the last time I've counted, I think it was 4,675 subscribers. So keep smashing that subscribe button, like, and share it, people. So anyways, West Indies, obviously, if you should have by now have watched our video, our live show looking at West Indies win over the United States. We'll have another live show probably tomorrow night, Thursday night, UK time, looking at West Indies game against Nepal. But the question is, who should play against Nepal? So for those who don't remember, in West Indies' first game, I should say, in the tournament, the side that played against the United States was as follows: Brandon King, Carl Mayers, Johnson Charles, Shea Hope, Nicholas Pooran, Roston Chase, Rovman Powell, Jason Holder, Kemo Paul, Alzari Joseph, and Akil Hussain. And of course, the West Indies won that match comfortably by 39 runs. Now, before I tell you what I think they should consider going into this game against Nepal, I think it's important, and it's always important in something like a World Cup tournament, to consider the context of what has happened in the tournament so far. The West Indies will be playing, so their first game was played at the Takashinga Cricket Club in Harare, right? And of the two games that have been played at Takashinga thus far, it's been very low score. I mean, West Indies scored 297, but generally speaking, it's been low. It's kind of been low, slow conditions. It's been hard to strike through the line of the ball. It hasn't been easy to be free-flowing and fluent at TCC. And I mean, West Indies made 297 against a limited United States. United States limped to 258 for 7 all out. So 258 for 7 at the end of their 50 overs. In the second game of that venue, the US played again at the venue, but this time against Nepal. And the USA batting first, made 207. Nepal elected to field, much like USA elected to field against us, trying to utilize the early swing and seam conditions that clearly exist at TCC. And USA limped again to 207 from 49 overs. And then Nepal chased that down in 43 overs, making 211 for 4. Now, the reason why I set that context is because everyone has to understand that this game tomorrow is being played at the Harare Sports Club. So it's a completely different venue. And in looking at the kind of weighing up who should play, who shouldn't play, you have to take venue into consideration. The conditions we'll face at the Harare Sports Club will be completely different to what we faced at TCC. And thus far, in terms of the 2 games that have been played at the Harare Sports Club, the first game up, Nepal played Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe won the toss and elected to field, believing that the conditions at Harare were better suited to chase. Nepal made 290 for 8 from their allotted 50 overs. Zim chased that down in 44.1 overs. So 6 overs to spare in chasing down 291. So that already gives you an idea of just how many runs are probably going to be needed on this ground. Yes, some are going to say we're only playing Nepal, but it gives you a kind of marker as to how many runs is considered par at this ground. Netherlands played Zimbabwe yesterday. And when I say yesterday, I mean yesterday at the time of recording. Again, Zimbabwe won the toss, elected to field. So already, again, the context is clear. And in fact, this has been the context in the West Indies group thus far. Everyone who has won the toss has elected to field. Zimbabwe won the toss against the Netherlands, elected to field. The Netherlands put up a much better total than Nepal, putting up 315 for 6 from 50 overs. But to all intents and purposes, because the Netherlands lack power hitters, I felt that they left a lot of runs out there. And that was proved to be the case when Zim chased down the 316 to win in 40.5 overs. So this time winning with 9 overs to spare. So and don't get me wrong, clearly, based on the first 2 games that Zim have played against Nepal and the Netherlands, Zim are a team to be feared in this tournament. They're obviously playing at home. They've got a vociferous crowd behind them, and they're determined to go one better than the last time we're out. So if West Indies are going to make it, Zim are clearly going to be a problem. Obviously, we know about Sri Lanka already, but Zim are going to be a problem, right? But that notwithstanding, Zim chasing down 316 to win with 9 overs to spare, and chasing down 291 to win against Nepal with 6 overs to spare, lays a marker down for the West Indies, whether we're batting second or batting first. Par at Harare Sports Club seems to be minimum 340, possibly 350. That looks like it's par. So when West Indies play against Nepal, if we bat first, I think, irrespective of what we feel about Nepal's batting lineup, we have to treat the game as if we're playing flipping Australia or something, and say that 350 is the minimum at this ground based on how Zimbabwe have performed thus far at HSC. In terms of the wicket takers thus far, what has been clear to see across the 2 games at Harare Sports Club thus far, sorry, I said thus far a lot, is that I don't think spin is going to be highly effective. Now, I know the Sikandar Raza took 4 for 55 against the Netherlands, but if you look at that in the context of how everybody else did, and also looking at the Nepal versus Zim game, it very much looks like the bowlers that will be successful on a ground that obviously favors high scoring are going to be the bowlers who have the ability to bowl varieties, off cutters into the pitch, cross seam deliveries. I don't know if anyone's going to attempt some wobble seam, whatever it might be, but it's going to be the smart bowlers who are successful at Harare Sports Club and don't just rely on a kind of stock line and length. Seemingly, if you bowl line and length at Harare Sports Club, you're going to get carted out of the ground, and anyone who's a power hitter is going to see that as a slot delivery. So it's whoever West Indies select, you've probably got to go for bowlers who have a variety of deliveries in their arsenal. It's not going to be enough to just bowl 6 stock deliveries and hope to keep it tight, because the ball looks like it will travel at Harare Sports Club. Similarly, Zim have done well in these 2 games against Nepal and Netherlands because they've got power hitters in their lineup. So on paper, this game should suit West Indies. West Indies' biggest weakness is also their biggest strength, right? And in a team, if I take West Indies' previous performance again, in a West Indies team that currently has, based on the previous game against USA, King, Mayers, Charles, Pooran, Powell. I'm not going to include Hope, Chase, and Holden for now. So I'll say it again. King, Mayers, Charles, Pooran, Powell. Those 5 are all power hitters and have the ability to hoik the ball out of the ground at regular intervals. Some will say, are you sure about Brandon King? But we've seen him do it in CPL, right? or in T20 tournaments. So West Indies should, like I say, should be seeing this game against Nepal as a chance for their power hitters to not only get in, but get going quickly and destructively, if that's the right way to express it. And due to that, that's why when I looked at the construction of the West Indies team for the Nepal game, I'm not making any changes. Because you have to look at who's not in the squad, right? The players currently out of the squad are as follows. When I say out of the squad, as in the squad of 15, who are the ones who didn't play in the first game? The first person who didn't play is Shamar Brooks. Now, Shamar Brooks was ill for the United States game. So some would say, well, Brooks should come back in because he would have been slated to play versus USA. We know that the strength of Shamar Brooks is his ability to play spin and rotate the strike and so on and so forth. But off the back of Johnson Charles scoring 66 of 80 balls in that first game against USA, so he showed a level of constraint. I know he was dropped. I think he was dropped twice, maybe, but he showed a level of constraint that we don't believe to be familiar with Johnson Charles. This game at Harare Sports Club should suit Johnson Charles's natural game. So I don't see why you drop Johnson Charles to bring in Shamar Brooks. You're not going to move King or Mayers. Yes, neither one of them got a score, but you're not going to move them because you're going to give them another goal. You're going to assume that a score is coming. And in fact, if you look at Darren Sammy's recent press conference, he alluded to the fact that he was glad that West Indies made 297 when their openers didn't even do anything and Robin Powell didn't even do anything. So he was happy to see the burden of runs shared out across the team when so many batters, 3 of them of the top 7, failed to produce. So I don't see how Brooks gets back in the side for this particular game, and given the venue it's at as well. So Charles keeps his spot. Romario Shepherd didn't play. Keemo Paul played instead of Romario Shepherd. The question everyone has to ask themselves is, Keemo Paul only bowled 6 overs in that first game. Remember that Shai Hope decided to end the West Indies bowling by asking Roston Chase to bowl out. Keemo Paul and Jason Holder, between them, had 6 overs left in the tank. Shai Hope did not go back to them because he didn't need to go back to them. It's worth noting that Keemo Paul, in the 6 overs he did bowl in that United States game, bowled 6 overs, no maidens, none for 23, and had the best economy, well, other than Nikhil Hussain, had the best economy of 3.83 in the West Indies attack. For that reason, and for the fact that Keemo Paul both has good slower balls up in his arsenal, ability to, I think Keemo's got the ability to bowl off cutters into the ground. I think Keemo Paul's got a deceptive Yorker, because I believe that Keemo Paul has better variations than Romario Shepherd. Romario Shepherd is a better lower order bat than Keemo Paul. If West Indies really believe they need to bolster the batting against Nepal, then you bring Romario Shepherd in. But I don't think they should have to do that, right? So for me, Keemo Paul keeps his place. Then, of course, there's the issue of Yannick Correa. Last we were told is that Yannick Correa has a nasal fracture. Santoki and I discussed on the post-USA match that, generally speaking, if you have a nasal fracture, you tend to have to end up playing in a mask. We've had no further update as to the medical status or health status of Yannick Correa. Based on that, I have to assume he is not fit and therefore he can play no part in the Nepal game. Would it be good to have a leg break bowler against Nepal? Possibly, but it doesn't look like spin per se is going to be the go-to suit at Harare. So it's not the end of the world that Yannick Correa is possibly unavailable. So he doesn't get in the squad or in the final 11, which leaves Casey Carty, who's the final member of the 15-man squad. Of course, Casey Carty will not play. So for that, you can see that the team essentially writes itself. There will be, or I'm saying there will be, but I'm also saying there should be no changes for the Nepal game. I don't see why they'd make any changes. They had a relatively comfortable timeout against the United States. Interestingly, Carl Mayers did bowl 6 overs in that game. 6 overs, no maidens, 2 for 30. So Alzari bowled out. He looked undercooked a bit, I must say. Akil bowled out. He was good. He was tight. 10 overs, 2 maidens, number 38. Alzari Joseph, 10 overs, no maidens, 2 for 68. So we know Alzari Joseph's role. He's the wicket taker still. Yes, he was expensive, the most expensive versus USA, but he still struck. He still got those 2 wickets. So Alzari will be used in that context. We didn't fully see the construction of the West Indies bowling attack against the United States because we didn't have to. So I think they'll just go again, which means our attack will be a 6-man attack. Primarily, Keemo Paul, Jason Holder, Alzari Joseph, Akil Hussain, Roston Chase, with Carl Mayers to come in as and when with his golden arm status that he kind of has within the side. The only other talking point really is who opens the bowling. Against United States, Keemo Paul and Jason Holder took the new ball. Carl Mayers then got a bowl before Alzari Joseph. So some of you I know will be saying, nah, Mash, it can't work like that. Alzari Joseph should be bowling before Jason Holder. He should be bowling before Carl Mayers. There would have been a plan as to why Alzari, in fact, I'm just trying to check when Alzari Joseph actually took the ball. So Alzari Joseph in the last game did not bowl until, when did he take the ball? The 12th over. So Alzari Joseph's first over of the game. Let me just double check that, see if I'm right. Yeah, I think I'm right. Yeah, Alzari Joseph's first over of the game against the United States was the 12th over. Okay, so outside the first 10 overs. So it's just a question of will West Indies go with that tactic again? I'm not so certain. I think they'll chop and change to suit whatever opposition they're playing. And if they feel that Alzari Joseph will be better suited with the new ball or inside the first 10 overs, then yes, I think he will get the ball. But if they think the kind of variations that Jason Holder and Keemo Paul can bowl is better up top to then be assisted by Carl Mayer's swing or potential swing that might be on offer early up, then that's the way they'll go as well. Like I said, people, that's just a quick one. Just a quick one looking at the likely construction of the team to play against Nepal. By all means, I'm sure some of you will disagree and you'll say, bring in this person, bring in that person. Alzari Joseph should get the new ball, this, that, and the other. Cool. Get at me in the comments below. Let me know what you think. What do you think that will be the team? Do you think he'll be unchanged? How do you think they'll go about playing the game? I think they'll just play their natural game. I think they'll tell the power hitters to power hit, and I think they'll be targeting 350 minimum as a score at the ground tomorrow. And if West Indies make 350, they'll win the game. That's my personal take on it. But get at me in the comments below. I've been Machel, St. Patrick Hewitt, one half the Caribbean Cricket Podcast. You see the ticker tape below. Follow us on all the particular socials. If you'd like to support the Caribbean Cricket Podcast, head to www.patreon.com/CaribCricket. Any little bit helps. You are the ones that keep us going. Like I say, I've been Machel, St. Patrick Hewitt. Thank you and good night.
We rule the cricket world. Now the rules seem coming.
Welcome to the Caribbean Cricket Podcast, your one-stop shop for all things West Indies cricket. By the fans, for the fans.